So I wanted to make this hopefully quick video. I'm really going to try and make this quick and brief because the people who really need to see this are the ones who are probably going to be like, oh, this is 10 minutes long, I don't want to watch it. So we're going to try to make this really quick. A video on the difference between extroversion and introversion. Now, I've been meaning to speak about this for a long time. Because I actually think that it's pretty basic and it's pretty like elementary, but I've been learning more and more. You know that phrase where it's like the more that you know, the more that you don't know, and things are actually a lot more colorful than black and white that you probably think it is. That's probably not exactly how the phrase goes, or I probably mixed two together, but you pretty much get the point that I'm trying to say. Extroversion and introversion is not as clear as many people think that it is. Extroversion does not necessarily mean like, oh, you're very loud and obnoxious and you invade people's privacy. It can mean that sometimes, but I know some people who are like that who are introverts. And introversion does not mean that you hate people and, oh my goodness, I like to spend time alone and I'm very zen-like and wise, or whatever the case may be, because I know a lot of extroverts who are also like that. One of the main things that made me want to actually make this video was watching Oprah, who everybody, even people who don't really know about MBTI that much, know for sure that Oprah is the typical face of ENFJ, besides Megan Lavoda now, when you look her up on YouTube and everything. But Oprah is the face of ENFJ, and she did a video with Amy Schumer, who I don't know too well, but from vibes and things I've seen, I would guess is an ISFP, or a very well developed ESFP, but that's story for another day. She did an interview with Amy Schumer, and she was pretty much like, you know, what I noticed when I was reading your book that most people may not know, and Amy's like, oh, is it that you're an introvert? I'm an introvert! What? So I had to leave a comment because I felt like it would be a disservice if I did not correct people on that site. And Heidi Priebe, actually, for those of you who know her, she pretty much wrote like all of the MBTI articles online, and she's a woman that I also work with, and we have a video together. You guys should go check that out. It'll probably help you out a lot about extroversion versus introversion as well. Anyway, Heidi Priebe is actually the one who put it on Twitter, and I went to go check it out, and Heidi forewarned me that I will cry. And the video literally is Oprah claiming to be an introvert and talking about how when she's at parties, then she gets drained and she actually has to go hide out in the bathroom sometimes, which honestly, I'm an ENFJ, as you guys may know, and I actually have to do the same thing. Extroverts need alone time. MBTI, which is now driving to the heart of this video, when you look at just the dichotomies, the E versus I, N versus S, F versus T, J versus P, it doesn't work like that. I mean, it does in MBTI, but it's not really a spectrum. We actually have to go by the cognitive functions, and if you look at my very popular video now on how 65% chance that your Myers-Briggs results are inaccurate, each type has 4 cognitive functions, and you have to focus and you have to learn about those 4 cognitive functions. If your dominant function is an extroverted function, then your auxiliary or second function is an introverted function, and then your third one's extroverted, and then your last one is introverted. So for Oprah, for example, as an ENFJ, for me, for example, as an ENFJ, her dominant function is extroverted feeling, external feeling, also known as FE, harmony. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to my blog where I've defined all of the cognitive functions briefly, or you can look at my video where I'm talking about all the cognitive functions. But essentially, this is pretty much knowing the exact buttons to push in the exact order to get an emotional reaction from a group of people or from an individual. It's also about like meeting people's needs and pretty much creating harmony, things along those lines. Oprah being an NI auxiliary, which would also mean that she has an SE as a tertiary function, and I guess this is where it's getting technical. SE, extroverted sensing, is her third function as an ENFJ. And when it's being overwhelmed too much at a party, then you want to back out. This is why you have a lot of INFJs who have SE as an inferior function, who they can't really even stand parties because it's too much sensory stuff going on. But then you have introverts like ISFPs maybe, who I know in ISFP, that when he's very, very quiet outside of parties and everything, but then when you get him to a party or something, he's the center of attention. He's dancing. He's really in his SE element pretty much, and he doesn't even have to be socialized. And so there's different types of extroversion, there's different types of introversion. You even have ENTJs who think that they're INTJs because they're like, oh, well, I don't like people, oh, people drain me. But the thing is, ENTJs lead with external thinking, or extroverted thinking, TE, which is all about effectiveness and efficiency. And it's not necessarily that you get drained by people, but you get drained by people getting in your way of getting things done. That's pretty much what this comes down to. Extroversion versus introversion is dependent on which function you lead with. If you lead with an extroverted function, whether it be extroverted intuition, NE, extroverted sensing, SE, extroverted feeling, FE, or extroverted thinking, TE, then that means that you are an extrovert. And then if you lead with an introverted function, NI, introverted intuition, TI, introverted thinking, FI, introverted feeling, or SI, introverted sensing, then that means that you are an introvert. This can all be summed up in one phrase. Just forgot what the phrase was. It's not about where you get your energy from, because depending on your type, you might get your energy from the external world, and you might get your energy from the internal world while you're still an extrovert or introvert, whichever the case may be. But it's more of where you focus your energy. Where do you focus your energy? What is real to you? Is the external world more real to you, or is your internal world more real to you? And we have a balance of both to an extent, depending on how well developed your auxiliary function is, which goes in the opposite attitude, as in like extroversion versus introversion, than your dominant function. So do you focus on the external world of possibilities and ideas and theories, extroverted intuition, or do you focus on the external world of harmony and, you know, things along those lines, extroverted feeling, or do you focus on metrics and, you know, things along those lines and like bring effectiveness and order, extroverted thinking, or do you focus more on sensory experiences and fashion, you know, things along those lines, like extroverted sensing? That's pretty much like what it comes down to. Wherever you focus your energy is essentially most likely where your dominant function focuses its energy, and then that'll determine whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. And this means that you can have extroverts such as FE DOMs, so a lot of ENFJs, who can actually come off very introverted. And you have a lot of ENFJs online, celebrities, all of that, who are mistaken for introverts or INFJs because they seem very reserved and poised and all of that. But the thing is, FE as a dominant function, and then especially when you have it backed up with NI, it causes the ENFJ to be very composed and all of that. When you look at my video with Emrys McWright, you can see that he's a very composed individual, and I know other ENFJs who are the same way. A lot of people perceive me to be the very same way, and that doesn't mean that we're always, you know, going to be like that depending on our environment, because we do adapt to our environment. So essentially, and I guess this video has run pretty long anyway, but I'm going to try and keep this short regardless. I just want to give us 10 seconds to just look at this beautiful graphic that Heidi made for our SPA Sigma channel or page, where we work and we actually teach about MBTI. And this graphic is talking about the 4 different types of extroverts, just like there's 4 different types of introverts. And this is a good way to be able to tell which one are you. Extroversion versus introversion is much deeper than people may assume, and don't be so quick to judge someone as an extrovert, don't be so quick to judge someone as an introvert. We all need alone time, and we all need time to be spent with people. And the more healthy of an individual that you become, the more developed that you become, and the more balanced you start to become, which is then where you start getting people who think that they're ambiverts. But then it goes to the tertiary and the inferior function, and your inferior and tertiary function will never become balanced. So then technically you can never actually be an ambivert. And that's another quick tip. Pay attention to the tertiary function. If you see that the tertiary function is introverted, then most likely, or actually 100% of the time, the dominant function is introverted. So that means that person is actually an introvert. If the tertiary function is extroverted, then 100% of the time, the dominant function is extroverted, so the person is extroverted. So try and look for that function. And this is a lot of terms, but this just shows how much you must learn the functions to be able to really tell a lot of times. And speaking of time, I think that we're out of it. So thanks for watching, guys, and share this with people because we need to stop. We really need to stop mistaking this elementary extroversion versus introversion and, oh, I get my energy from being around people. That's not always the case. So yeah, done.